Question 1. So write 0.63 as a fraction. Well, this is 63 hundredths. Part B, write 46,801 correct to the nearest 100. Well, to the nearest 100, that's 46,800. Part C, write this to one decimal place. So that means we're allowed one number after the decimal point. So this 6 here. Does it stay as being 6 or do we round it up to 7? Well, we may go to 7 because the next number is 5 or above. So this number is nearer to 73.7 than it is to 73.6. Part D, write 0.09 as a percentage. Well, this is 9 out of 100, which is 9%. Question 2. From which bag is Daniel least likely to pick a red sweet? So we want the smallest number, so that's 0.2, so that's from bag E. Which bag contains only red sweets? Well, that's got to be bag E, because the chances of picking a red sweet is 1, which is certain. So that must be full of red sweets. And from which bag is Daniel equally likely to pick a red sweet or a sweet of another colour? Well, that's when it's 50-50. So a probability of 0.5, so that's from bag C. Question 3. Well, the scales show the number of litres of oil in the tank before and after Joseph puts the oil in the tank. So the level before was at 400. The level after is halfway between 1200 and 1400, which is 1300. So how much oil is he put into the tank? Well, it's 1300. Take away 400, which is 900 litres. Now the cost of the oil is 0.40 euros per litre. So every litre is going to cost him 0.40 euros. Well, he's got 900 litres, so that's going to cost him 900 multiplied by 0.4, which is 360 euros. Question 4. So part A, write down the coordinate of C. Well, C is 2 along the corridor, 1 down the stairs, so that's 2 minus 1. And measuring the length of BC, we'll obviously measure that with your ruler. In centimetres, that's 3.6 centimetres, but the mark scheme allows a little bit of leeway, so any answer between 3.4 to 3.8 would be allowed. Now on the grid, mark with an X the point D, so that ABCD is a parallelogram. So the relationship from B to C has got to be the same as from A to D. To get from B to C, we go 2 to the left and 3 down. So from A, we've got to go 2 to the left and 3 down, taking us to this point here at -1, -1. Question 5, part A. Write down a multiple of 8 that is between 20 and 50. So we need anything that's in the 8 times table between 20 and 50. So for example 24, but you could of course also have had these 3 numbers. Part B, there is only one prime number that is an even number. What is that? Well, that is 2, because 1 times 2 gives you 2. So that's 1 and itself. So 2 is the only even prime number. All the other prime numbers are odd. Now, part C, is 57 a prime number? Well, is it divisible by anything other than 1 and itself? Well, it is. It's divisible by 3. So you could obviously just check that on the calculator, but a quick way to see that is that as the 2 digits add up to 12, and 12 is divisible by 3, 57 must also be divisible by 3. Question 6. So draw the pattern up here. Well, we can see we're going from squares which have got lengths of 2 to 3 to 4. So this is going to have a length of 5. So 5 dots along, 5 dots down. Now for part B, complete the table. Well, we can see, well, there's 2 ways of looking at it. You can either see as you're going along from left to right, we're going up in 4s. So we could have just added 4 onto the 12 and then to get 16 and 4 onto the 16 to get 20. But equally, if you just want to look at the relationship going downwards, 1 times 4 is 4, 2 4s are 8. So we're just multiplying by 4 to move between the pattern number and the number of dots. So 16 and 20 the numbers. Now for part C, work out the number of dots in pattern number 13. Well, we then need to rely upon this relationship, but that to move from the pattern number to the number of dots, you're timesing by 4. So the 13th pattern, 13 times 4, which is 52. Now part D, find an expression in terms of n for the number of dots in pattern number n. Well, here we're just simply seeing that we're going up in 4s, so it's going to be 4n. And just be careful here, we're sort of used to doing a little adjustment at the end where we add on the 0th term. We'll think about the 0th pattern number, it's going to have 0 dots, so the adjustment we normally make would be 0, so 4n plus 0, so we don't need to mention the plus 0, so our answer is 4n. Now for part E, there are fewer than 90 dots in pattern number k. What is the largest possible value of k? So on this occasion we're going from the number of dots to the pattern number. So how do we move from this row to this row? We divide by 4. So 90 divided by 4 gives us 22.5. So the biggest pattern number giving us fewer than 90 dots will be the 22nd pattern, which if you times that by 4 will give us 88 dots. Obviously the 23rd pattern would give us 92 dots, which is too many. So the pattern number k, it's 22. Question 7. So write 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 down as a power of 7. Well, there are 5 7s here, so that's 7 to the power of 5. Part B, we've got to show that 64 is both a square number and a cube number. Well, 8 times 8 is 64, so that's showing that 64 is a square number. Also, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, and that's showing that 64 is also a cube number. Part C, find the value of 11 cubed. Well, you just use your cube button on your calculator. Alternatively, do 11 times 11 times 11 on your calculator, and you get 1331. For part D, using your square root button on your calculator, you get 9.9. Question 8. So for part A, we need to substitute in g being equal to minus 3. So it's going to be 25 take away 4 times minus 3. So try and get in the habit of putting the what you're substituting into a bracket. Then you can just simply pop this into your calculator as like this, press equals, and you'll get the answer of 37. So why is this the case? Well, minus 4 times minus 3 is plus 12. 25 add 12 is 37. Now for part B, expand means we've got to get rid of the brackets. Then simplifying is gathering up the like terms. So to expand and get rid of the brackets, we have to use the claw. So x times 2x and x times 1, then 3 times x and 3 times minus 2 to start with. So x times 2x is 2x squared, x times 1 is x, 3 times x is plus 3x, 3 times minus 2 is minus 6, then we've just got this plus 7 tagged on at the end. So gathering up our like terms, well, these are the only x squared, so we've got 2x squareds. Here are our x's, so we've got a plus x, a plus 1x, and a plus 3x, which is plus 4x. The minus 6 add 7 is plus 1. Question 9. Part A, shade a segment of the circle. Well, a segment is the area between a chord and the circumference, so this little area here. Now write down the mathematical name of the straight line RS. Well, this is called a chord. Now any line going from one part of the circle to another that does not pass through the centre is called a chord. Now in part C, we've got to work out the size of the angle PQT. So the angle from P to Q to T, so this angle here. Now what we've got to do is give a reason for each stage of your working. So every single fact you find out, pop it on the diagram, but also write a sentence to justify the maths behind it. Now the first thing we can say is angle OQP is also 18 degrees, because these two angles here, this angle here by P and this angle here by Q, they're both the base angles of this isosceles triangle. This triangle POQ is isosceles because it's got two lengths the same. OP and OQ are both radiuses of the circle, they're both the same length. So we can say that angle OQP is 18 degrees because base angles of an isosceles triangle are equal. Now secondly, because QT is a tangent to the circle, we can say that the angle between a radius and the tangent at a point, so the angle OQT, must be 90 degrees, because that's one of the circle theory rules, that an angle between a tangent and a radius equals 90 degrees. Now given the whole angle is 90 degrees and part of that angle is 18 degrees, the remaining bit, the angle PQT, must be 90 take away 18, which is 72 degrees. Question 10. So we have 135 students and we're choosing one at random. Find the probability the student bought an apple or a banana. Well, 36 bought apples, 33 bought bananas. Adding these together, 69 students bought apples or bananas. So the probability of selecting one of these is 69 out of the 135. Remember, it's normally easiest to give probabilities by way of a fraction. So 69 out of 135, simply 69 over 135. In part B, we're drawing a pie chart. Work out the size of the angle in the pie chart for the oranges. Well, the oranges are going to be 27 out of the 135, so that tells you the proportion. So what proportion of a whole circle, what proportion out of a 360 degree turn do we want for oranges? Well, just pop into your calculator 27 over 135, use your fractions button on your calculator, multiply this by 360 and we get 72 degrees. Question 11. So work this out. So use the obviously use your calculator and use the fractions button on your calculator. So work this out first of all in the first fraction, then the plus sign, and then again using the fractions button, pop this into the second fraction and write down all the figures on your calculator display, which is this. Now for part B, correct to 3 significant figures. Well, that means your final answer's got to comprise 3 figures in total. So 1, 2 and 1 more. Now do I round this 1 up? No, I don't, because the next digit is not 5 or above. So my final answer is 4.71. Question 12. So for part A, work out the area of triangle ABC. Well, this isn't too bad if you just remember how to use half times base times height. Now half is obviously fine, the base is fine, the base is 2, but the height we need is the perpendicular height. And this is quite an unusual one because it seems a bit strange using this height here, but that is the height straight up in this triangle. So it's going to be half times 2 times the perpendicular height, which is 3, which gives us 3 centimeters squared. Remember, units for area are always squared. Area is 2-dimensional, so squared. Part B, give a reason why angle ACD is equal to angle CAB, why these two angles are the same. Well, this is sort of the Z angle rule. The two angles inside the Z are equal because DC is parallel to AB. Now what's the posh way of saying the Z-angle rule? Well, that's alternate angles are equal. Okay, remember the imagery we have. You're looking down from above. This is a fence. This person is looking this direction. This person is looking that direction. They've got alternate views. Now part C, write down an equation for the straight line that passes through D and C. Well, think about all the points that would be on the line DC. So for example, 2, 4, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 4. So these are a number of points which are on the line DC. And what do you notice about these points? Well, the y coordinate is consistently 4. So the name of this line is y equals 4. Question 13. So we're told the temperature decreases by 2 degrees centigrade for every increase of 300 meters in height. And that we're giving a starting point that the temperature at a height of 800 is 6 degrees. Now we've got to work out an estimate of the temperature at a height of 2,000 meters on the mountain. So 2,000 meters, well, let's compare that to 800 meters. Well, that's another 1,200 meters of height. Just on 2,000, take away 100. So that's 1,200 meters increase in height. Well, we know that there's a 2 degrees centigrade decrease in temperature for every 300 meters increase in height. Well, we've got a 1,200 meters increase in height. That's 4 lots of 300. So we're going to have a decrease in temperature of 4 lots of 2. So the decrease in temperature is going to be 8 degrees. Well, the temperature at the initial height was 6 degrees. We've got an 8 degree decrease from this. 6 take away 8 take us to minus 2 degrees centigrade. Right, for part B, so we've got a new rule here. We use an average speed of 5 kilometers per hour for the distance you will walk, and then you've got to add on 1 minute for every increase of 10 meters in height. And she plans to walk 12 kilometers in the mountains with an increase of 800 meters in height. So let's first of all look at how long it's going to take for the normal walking. So we know we go 5 kilometers in 1 hour. Okay, that's our starting point. 5 kilometers in 1 hour, which is 60 minutes. So by proportion, let's think about how long 1 kilometer is going to take me. Well, I just divide by 5. So 1 kilometer is going to take me 12 minutes. But I've got to walk 12 kilometers. Well, if 1 kilometer takes me 12 minutes, 12 kilometers are going to take me 12 times as long, 12 times of 144 minutes. So it's going to take me 144 minutes, and that's even before I take into account any increase in height. Now I've got to add on 1 minute for every increase of 10 meters. Now I'm got an increase of 800 meters. Now 10 meters is 1 minute, so 800 meters, 80 times as big, is going to be an extra 80 minutes. So the total time it's going to take me to walk this is the 144 minutes, looking at the first bit, then an extra 80 minutes, taking into account the increase in height. 144 plus 80 is 224 minutes. I can get 3 hours out of that. 3 lots of 60 is 180, leaving me with 44 minutes left over. So that takes 3 hours 44 minutes. Question 14. So for part A, find the probability we'll take at least one card marked with a C. So circle all the ones that have got at least one C on them. So that's 7 circles. Now there are 16 options because it's 4 rows of 4. So the chances of picking one with at least one C is 7 out of 16. Now for part B, Javier is going to repeat taking one card from each of the 2 packs 80 times, and how many times would you expect him to get at least one card marked C? Well, when he just does it on one occasion, you expect the probability of getting at least one C is 7 out of 16. So if he repeats it 80 times, it's just 80 lots of this. So 80 times 7 over 16, which is 35. Question 15. So we're going to work out angle X. So first things first, the triangle AEB is isosceles. So it's got these two sides are the same, so its two base angles are also going to be the same. So angles in a triangle add up to 180, of which one of the angles is 80. So 100 degrees has to be split evenly between these two angles here. So both of these are 50 degrees. Now, this is a rectangle, so each of the angles in the corner of a rectangle is going to be 90. So we have a 50 here and a 90 here. Now, angles about a point, angles all the way around add up to 360. So X has got to be 360, take away 50, take away 90, which is 220 degrees. Question 16. Work out the difference between the largest share and the smallest share when 3,450 yen is divided in this ratio. Well, there are a number of ways of doing this. I'm just going to do it the quickest way. So first things first, how many shares have we got? Well, 2 add 6 add 7 is 15. So how much is each share worth? Well, you do 3450 divided 15 by 15. So each share is worth 230 yen. Now, what is the difference between the largest share and the smallest share? How many shares is the difference? Well, 7 take away 2 is 5. So there is a difference of 5 shares between the largest and the smallest share. So if we've got 5 share difference and each share is worth 230 yen, to work out how many yen the difference is, we do 5 times 230, which is 1150. Alternatively, you could have worked out how much 7 shares was worth, 2 shares was worth, and then take one away from the other. That will also, of course, give you 1150. Question 17. So they both get monthly pay increases. After the increase, they're both paid the same amount each month. Gopal was given an increase of 8%. So that's the place to start. How much does Gopal now get? So do 20,000, and to increase this by 8%, we multiply it by the multiplier 1.08. So Gopal now gets 21,600. Now we're told they both end up getting the same amount, so they're both going to end up getting 21,600. So Jamuna was getting 19,200 before, will now be getting 21,600. Take one away from the other, that's a 2,400 rupee increase. Now, how do we work out a percentage increase? We divide the increase by the original amount and times that by 100 to turn it into percent. So for Jamuna, the increase they're getting is 2,400. They originally got 19,200. So using your calculator, 2,400 divided by 19,200, multiply this by 100, we get 12.5%. Question 18. So for part A, make A the subject. So we've got to move from having M equaling something to finish with A equaling something. So to do this, we really have to undo everything just to end up with A on its own. So we start off by unpacking this term further away from A. So leave that C alone for now, we'll come back to that. Just unpack this taking away of BD. Now how do we undo a minus BD? We choose to add BD to both sides. So left hand side we add it, right hand side we add it. So on the left we're going to get M plus BD, and on the right this is undoing this, so we're just left with the AC. Now we've nearly got A on its own. All we've now got to do is undo the fact that it's being multiplied by C. So how do we undo a timesing by C? We divide by C. So we're going to divide both sides by C, and to make it really clear that all of this on the left hand side has to be divided by C, it's best just to set it out as a fraction. So we've got m plus bd all over C equaling A. So A equals m plus bd all over C. Now for part B, I know this is an inequality, we've got this less than sign, but from the algebra point of view, we just work through as if it said equals here. So how do we undo a minusing of 4? We add 4 to both sides. So 5x is going to be less than 43. How do we undo this timesing by 5? We divide by 5. So x is going to be less than 43 over 5. Again, totally happy with you leaving it as this top-heavy fraction, but either of these two other options would have been fine. Now part C, we've got to factorise. That means putting the brackets in, and fully, remember that must mean we're going to be taking out more than just one single number or letter. So fully factorising this, so what's the biggest number that goes into this first term and this second term? Well, that's going to be 6. 6 is the highest common factor of 12 and 18. Moving on to the e's, we've got an e squared and an e cubed. So the biggest amount we can take out is e squared. And then moving on to the f's, we've got an f cubed and an f. So the biggest we have in common is an f. So we can take out a full 6e squared f. So we then open up our bracket and say this times what gives us this first term. Well, we need a 3, so we have the 6 times the 3 equaling 18. We're already there on the e squared, but we need to have a couple more f's, so it's f squared. Moving on to the second term, pop in the minus sign. Now we need it to be 12, we've got a 6, so we need a 2. We need an e cubed, so we need another e, and we've already got the f. So this is it fully factorised, and it's always easy to check these. Just do the claw and make sure you end up back where you started. Question 19. So we've got to work out the curved surface area of cylinder A. So imagine you unwrapped this. Just imagine it was just a cylinder and you unwrapped this. You're going to be left with a rectangle for this curved surface area, which one length is going to be 1.6 and the other length is going to be the circumference of the circle. Circumference is pi times diameter. The diameter of this would be 2 lots of the 0.56. So it's going to be circumference times the other length. So pi times the diameter, pi times 2 lots of the 0.56. Then multiply this by the 1.6, giving us 5.629 ... which is 5.63 to 3 significant figures. Now we're told that the shapes are mathematically similar. So the lengths are going to be in proportion to each other. So comparing A to B, we can see that the length ratio is 1.6 to 0.6. 1.6 to 0.6. We know the radius of A is 0.56, and we've got to work out the radius of B. So proportionally, how do we go from 1.6 to 0.6? What do we multiply it by? Well, using my calculator, I've done 0.6 divided by 1.6 and I get 3/8. So 1.6 times 3/8 gives me 0.6. So this is going to be the same proportional relationship down here. 0.56 to what? Well, we times that by 3/8 as well. 0.56 times 3/8 gives us 0.21. So the radius of B is going to be 0.21. Question 20. So when you're going to show that question like this, you really want to take your left hand side and follow through on the maths and just make sure you end up getting what's on the right hand side. So that's what I'm going to do. So starting off with the left hand side, first things first, turn these both of these mixed numbers into top heavy fractions. So 3 7s are 21, add the 4, 25. So 3 and 4 sevenths is 25 over 7. and 1 and 5/8 is 13/8. Now, to subtract, we need to have a common denominator. Now, the common denominator, which both 7 and 8 go into, is going to be 56, because 7/8 is 56. So I'm going to turn each of these fractions into equivalent fractions, with the denominator being 56. So how do I turn the 7 into 56? I times it by 8. So I times the numerator by 8 as well. 25 times 8 is 200. Moving on to this one, how do I turn the 8 into 56? I times it by 7, so times the numerator by 7 as well. 13 times 7 is 91. Now that I've got the common denominator, I can just subtract the numerators. 200 take away 91 is 109. And finally, I can convert this top-heavy fraction into a mixed number. I can get one whole out of this, using up 56 parts, leaving me with 109 take away 56, which is 53 parts left over, and that equals my right-hand side. Question 21. So, to work out the value of x, we're going to have to use trigonometry. So, picture yourself at the angle. This side is adjacent to me, and this side is the hypotenuse. So I'm going to use cosine of the trigonometry ratios. Cosine being the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So cosine 52 equals my adjacent side of 12.6 over my unknown hypotenuse. Now it's two steps of algebra here to make x the subject. First of all, choose to multiply both sides by x, and then secondly divide through by cos 52. So x equals 12.6 divided by cos 52. Popping this into your calculator, you get 20.465 ... So to three significant figures, that's 20.5 centimeters. So what was tricky about this one was that x is the denominator and not the numerator. Had x just been on top, you would have just quite simply just multiplied both sides by 12.6. But that wasn't the case. So just take care when you've got x on the bottom. Question 22. So we're told that for class A, the mean score for the students in class A is 75. Okay, so given the mean score for class A is 75 and there are 28 students in class A, we can see that the total marks gained by class A must be 28 times 75, which is 2,100. Because working backwards, if we had known the total was 2,100, we'd have divided that by the 28 students in class A to get the mean score for class A students of 75. Now, in total, we have got 60 students. And I've done that by adding the 28 in class A to the 32 in class B. Now the total marks from the class A and B students must be 60 for the 60 students times the mean student mark for both classes of 72.6, giving us 4356. Because again, question 23. So, in order to eliminate either x or y, I need to have the same number of x's or the same number of y's across both equations. So I'm going to take my equation number 1, this first one, and choose to multiply throughout by 5, giving me 5x and 5y. I can then eliminate the y's. So multiplying the first equation by 5, I get 5x plus 5y equals 75. Now, if I then line that up with equation 2 below it, I can now see that my y's line up. So if I choose to add these equations together, and I'm going to add them because one of the equations has got plus 5y, the other has got minus 5y. So to eliminate the y term, I need to add these two together. Question 24. So to do this, I need to make the big number consistent throughout. So I've got a 2 here, a 2 here. I really need to adjust this 8 to being 2 to the power of something. Now 8 is 2 to the power of 3. So once I've got this far, this is fairly straightforward. On the left hand side, I've got 2 cubed divided by 2 to the power of 7. When we divide, we subtract the powers, so n must be 3 take away 7, which is minus 4. Now with part B, when I have a power inside the bracket and a power outside the bracket, I multiply these powers together. So this first term is 13 to the power of minus 24 times 13 to the 5 equals 13 to the power of k. Now when I multiply, I add the powers, so minus 24 add 5 has got to equal k, so k equals minus 19.